Greetings, chess friends. Today, we're going to see three games, one from the world champion, and then 120 years goes by, and a near carbon copy played at the Grandmaster level. A good lesson for all of us out there to study those classics. When the time comes, you will be armed somewhere in the back of your mind. You'll have that knowledge, and you won't have to necessarily create it over the board. And the third game, again, really almost a mirror image of the second. Every time there's a little twist. Chess games are always unique, but you'll see that the knowledge of one position can carry over, even when the color is different, and it's really all done at the highest level. So let's jump in today to our first game with world champion Emanuel Lasker, a classic that even Kasparov himself annotated for his My Great Predecessors series. Let's jump in. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a look today at the first game. Now, F4. Again, it's the 1880s, this game, and we cannot exactly advocate for this move. But let's just jump in. There's actually a pretty nice concept here. Dark square control. The move bishop d3 again stands out as a bit bizarre to our eyes, but really can't be bothered at the moment. I don't think this was an every game weapon for Lasker, but an interesting setup. Let's see how this unfolds. Knight e2 uncovers the bishop. It would look like a very normal position if that d-pawn were out of the way. Knight e5. And here, the first decision maybe to make, probably both moves are reasonable, but bishop takes, therefore keeping the vision of the bishop towards the king, as well as, of course, hitting the queen, so we pick up a free move. Queen c6, queen e2, a6, and knight a5. Really, every piece is pretty well placed, minus the rook in the corner. Even the rook here can join the party with a rook lift. Watch out for that. Knight takes knight, trying to remove a defender of the king, or perhaps double their pawns after take. But he captures, and of course we're going to take back. No! Bishop takes h7. Surprise number one here at Lasker. By the way, the best engine move. This game was played in 1889, so spectacular. King takes, and of course then queen does recapture, but we're down a minor piece here. Only legal move, king g8, and bang, bishop takes g7, the double bishop sacrifice. To my knowledge, the first time at least this was popularized or played at a very high level in chess history, and I think Kasparov even said something like Lasker would have tried to patent this idea. So here we go, queen g4. That forces the black king to the h-file, where along the edge of the board here, the threat of checkmate is obviously more serious. Here we go. King h7, and of course, rook f3. We hinted at the rook lift earlier, and there it is, threatening essentially checkmate. e5, the queen can now slide over. Of course, rook h3, the queen blocks, and we capture the queen. One more good move is needed here in order to tip the balance completely into white's favor, and that's queen d7. Queen d7 picks up an extra minor piece, and black really just can't hold on any longer. The game goes on a bit, but the open black king is really the deciding factor. Here now that the rook is playing, the pawn here even really tips the balance in white's favor, and rook takes, queen takes, and this is going to pick up a free rook. Here, check. King e7, the only move, and queen g7. Okay, so Lasker picks that one up. Of course, we really want to focus on this moment after knight takes knight with bishop takes h7, and then bishop takes g7, an extra check, and a rook lift. Okay, so we're going to come back to that. Let's leave this one right here. This game, 120-something years later, this is two GMs playing at the World Open here, and they have what looks like a pretty normal chess position, this sort of stone wall setup. And the first move we're going to start with is knight takes knight. Not exactly a natural move to get rid of probably our best and most forward piece, but there it is. D takes c5. That opens the diagonal here, and the bishop now staring towards the king, obviously going to be helpful. And bishop takes h7. You can sort of feel where this is going. History almost repeating itself here at the Grandmaster level. Queen h5. And of course, bishop takes g7. The double bishop sacrifice. Notice the similarities here. Of course, every chess game is unique. is going to be a little different, nuances here and there, but the extra check, forcing that king to the h-file, and the rook lift, rook f3. And again, black has to put their queen in the way. And here we play an extra move or two. Of course, we could have taken the queen and been just fine. Knight g5, and we do here pick up the queen. One extra good move is needed. Remember in that last one, queen d7, forking the two bishops. Here, one extra good move is needed, and that is exactly g6. Really jarring loose the king side. Of course, the major threat, checkmate, couldn't be bigger. And when he takes, we take this one, and that really separates all the black pawns. In addition, makes a fork here winning material. He moves the king, but if you naturally looks like we can block, rook f1 actually picks up even more material. So king g7, and we pick up the knight. Now he does block, but our queen is really just going to wreak too much havoc. The bishop and rook for black are just not enough, and white goes on to win. We'll just quickly play through the moves, but nearly all the pawns get taken here with check here. And the last move of the game was e4. The bishop has to disconnect, and we'll take the g-pawn. If the bishop even takes this one, we have queen e6, picking up the bishop with a fork. So let's rewind, and again, see how this went down. Bishop takes, queen h5, double bishop sack, extra queen check, rook lift, and then remember one more good move really to polish this one off. Let's go back to Lasker, back in time, 1880s. Bishop takes h7. King takes, queen h5. Double bishop sack, extra queen check, rook lift, and then remember one extra good move was needed, queen d7. I'm sure in this game, the Grandmaster with the white pieces was just saying, thank you, Lasker. Thank you for this classic sacrifice I saw when I was a young lad, probably. And this one is just unbelievable how across generations, the same type of sacrifice can happen. Details are always going to vary, but almost identical rhyming position. So let's rewind a little bit here to this moment right here. Okay, so put this position kind of in your mind if you can freeze frame that one, and we'll jump back here to the 1980s with the black pieces. Here we go. This was 2016. Okay. Two pawns guarding the knight. Our king is castled. Bishop there. Okay. Now we're jumping back here. Okay. The knight is there. Our king is castled. Bishop pointing at the king. Nearly identical setup here. And this is not some bizarre position you'll never see again. Pretty natural. Fianchetto, bishop d6. You can almost feel exactly how all the pieces got where they are. Easy to understand. Here, again, a little different, but very, very similar. And he played takes. Remember how this went. Knight takes knight. Uncover the bishop. And the double sack. Here we go. Knight takes knight. Uncover this bishop. Of course, the double bishop sack. This one again has a little detail though. I covered in a previous video, but this is worth it. Two spectacular exclamation points for bishop f3. Have you ever seen such a beautiful move? The double bishop sack does not work this time. He probably knew his classics. F3, and the queen is able to come to the aid of the king. Actually, the engine reading nearly zeros. Here, bishop f3, stunning move, and one that you would just love to get to play over the board if he had taken, did not in the game, but if he takes extra check, force him to the h-file, and a rook lift. Checkmate is coming. Beautiful. The real game went a little different, as it's always natural. Knight d2, now the queen isn't getting over. Bishop takes g2. He does eventually get the double bishop sack. One move just to show off. Bishop f3, beautiful. Here, and rook lift. Again, you can't take it. Of course, if he had taken it, extra check. Bring them to the h-file and the rook lift. Checkmate is coming. So he doesn't take it. f3 was played in the real game, and rook lift anyway. Same story. You can't take it. That's mate in one. And knight c4. Bishop just steps back. Wait a minute, that queen woke up. We just take one step back, and really, rook g6 is just deadly, this move. Not to mention, at any moment we could take, and regain some material. But rook g6, nearly checkmate. And here white just resigned. It's over. So again, side-by-side comparison. These two are so similar across generations. This one and this one. And again, the double bishop sack. So Lasker created it, and Grandmasters have been using that for generations. Again, similar positions. And history repeats itself. What's the big lesson here is really to study your classics. If you spend all your time looking at the most modern day games, those guys don't fall for these tricks. They don't fall for them because they've all seen the classics. The top players today very, very rarely are falling for any of these classic sacrifices because they've seen them. It's already kind of installed in their hardware not to fall for that, not to leave h7 unguarded and such. So be alert, learn the classics, and you will certainly get to a higher level where then people do know those as the justification for making moves. Really good job. I hope everyone enjoyed today. This has been a fun one. Keep your guard up and, of course, looking for those sacrifices around their king. And all the best to you over the board.